Greetings, life forms. Today, we'll show you how I made this beautiful bioactive vivarium. This vivarium was made for a gecko of the crest life form, a baby gecko of the crest life form. We start with Illumi's old hide. Use such a small noodle. Some cork rounds. Planters allow for deeper substrate to be built into the background. Since the goal is to get a canopy for Treffy, I wanted to put a variety of vining plants, and I wanted them to have the best start. I knew I wanted the hide to be detachable, but also built into the background, but I wasn't sure how I was gonna do it. After it cures, it's a smooth, shiny surface. That's not ideal for silicone to adhere to, so I proceed to peel and cut the foam to create a more natural look. After I settle on the wood placement, I prepare the background mix. Cocoa coir, or cocoa fiber, minced sphagnum moss, or leaf litter. You have to be careful with leaf litter and sphagnum moss because they will biodegrade over time. Unfortunately, I didn't capture the silicone and cocoa fiber bit on camera. I forgot to hit record, and once the silicone is out, there's a ticking clock. We start as any closed terrarium should, with a false bottom. I use expanded clay balls from IKEA as they are cheap and they do the trick. I add about 4 centimeters or 1 to 2 inches of clay balls. I then cut a fiberglass window screen as a barrier. Be sure to cut it a bit more than the dimensions of your enclosure to create a lip curving upwards. After the screen, I like to add my first type of cleanup life form, Tales of Spring. They are bred in wet charcoal, which happens to be the layer I add in between the screen and the substrate to help neutralize ammonia and maintain a clean water cycle for the enclosure. Now comes the substrate. I like using the ABG mix or Atlanta Botanical Gardens. I get a pre-made bag from Critter's Jungle here in Ottawa, and I add some materials to it, just so it goes a longer way. I add aqua soil and sphagnum moss, cocoa fiber, and some sand. Sometimes I'll add some substrate from my isopod bins, which introduces the next cleanup life form. For small builds, I like using isopods of the white dwarfs because they're tiny. Here are some of the plants I'm using for this build. The Fumbacia, snow, jewel orchid, Peperomia prostrata, a parlor palm, the miniature Boston fern, a tillandsia, pink syngonium, golden pothos, and marbled pothos. If you're not happy with how a plant looks, wiggle it around until you're happy. Or yeet the plant and start anew. And you can't build something like this without adding some live moss. Well, you can, but put some moss in there anyway. And huzzah! The Guild of Geckonia. Of course, you can't have a bioactive gecko of the crest enclosure without a gecko of the crest life form. Again, you can, but don't. So without further ado, this is Treffy, highest ranking member of the Guild of Geckonia. Don't you mean the only member? Can you just... Okay, I'm just messing with you. The highest ranking member of the Guild of Geckonia, Treffy.